And the reason for that will actually soon be clear. I'm here today to talk about a few things. First and foremost, yeah, that was a little bit of lag. First and foremost, obviously, same guild leader, new name. Fire Emblem is now Leaf Village, and funny story about Fire Emblem. They used to be known as a guild called MAP. It had some other dumb name for the acronym, but MAP was, or rather is, an actual attempt at political correctness to normalize pedophilia, and MAP actually stands for Minor Attracted Person. After that name change, they actually went to Fire Emblem to try to, I don't know, take the heat from having such a volatile name, and I guess recruiting so brazenly with said name. So yeah, then they moved to Fire Emblem. They amped up their toxicity big time with that move, and well, it's been on the vids, it's quite obvious. But apparently they got a little bit of bad press and were butthurt about the videos. Now are literally asking for an apology after taking guesses at my personal life. It's actually been pretty hilarious. They take these half-cocked formulated guesses and like try to make up life stories about me, even though I don't really post a whole lot outside of major stuff. I hardly even use social media anymore. And what information they did get, they didn't exactly dig in deep enough. But it's actually been quite comical there. But yeah, they changed it to Leaf Village. Sorry for standing still. I'm actually moving around and stuff IRL, doing things. It's kind of the reason I went to a lot of AFK activities, and that'll be touched on later too. No empty slot. But yeah, they changed their name as seen. Essentially went from MAP to Fire Emblem and now Leaf Village. Now, as the topic said in the title of the vid, I did want to discuss some things, basically let people know what they're in for with BDO, and address a few issues. As a day one player that's actually been here since pre-release and things like that, I've seen a lot of great players leave this game. Some have been in my guild, some have went to guilds with weak leadership and left the game after I've been in a few guilds with them. I myself have been in 3 guilds, and a very good friend of mine was also in 3 guilds and finally quit the game after being in a guild with very weak leadership. But essentially there is a reason that people will walk away. There's actually a lot of reasons. BDO being pay to win, the amount you would actually have to do for a guarantee is absolutely crazy. You can get set up okay, but the pay to win argument isn't so much valid, and a lot of people pretty much that will discourage them if they think a game is pay to win. BDO, you can definitely make some advancements with a couple $100, but it would cost you a lot to be a guaranteed pay to win. But there's still plenty left to discourage buyers, especially women. This game is full of the stereotypical chauvinist video games are a man's world type. So it's one of those things. The community is very sexist, very attracted to drama. It's genuinely not a very laid-back community anymore. And I know part of the problem is cross-bet play. They basically force way too many characters together, or people, and essentially PlayStation only has 2 servers to call our own. We used to have a whole server group. Xbox had a 7-month head start on the game, so basically they just cream us. They actually had longer with the game before PlayStation got it than we had with the game before crossplay hit. So as a PlayStation player, that will complicate things. I do also get where new players have issues. BDO is very unforgiving. It is not going to hold your hand, and it's not very good at giving a tutorial at how a lot of the game systems work. And there are a few helpful people still on, but largely the community's gotten very toxic, and it is not women friendly. Essentially, this is allowed to go unchecked because Pearl Abyss, even with screenshots, evidence, even with multiple reports, they've typically shown that unless you actually direct insults or derogatory comments to CMs or GMs, you can pretty much say whatever you want as long as it's just about a typical player. They're okay with blatant sexual harassment, no bans, and to be honest, a lot of people just create a lot of drama that doesn't need to be in a video game. People do typically play to relax, and with a lot of salty people that can't take a loss 1v1, they'll send in 8, as you've seen on many videos with Fire Emblem, now Leaf Village. But yeah, a lot of people get really salty. I don't know what it is about BDO, but it seems all the failures at IRL want to come here and have something to prove. And a lot of them don't get to prove it unless they bring backup, unfortunately. But that part's actually pretty funny in a way. It's just kind of frustrating for someone that actually works, and for someone that wants to make progress, actually has a job and isn't just a BDO no-lifer. The game is honestly even more unforgiving, which is why people typically resort to pay to win. However, people that do advance too fast and find themselves being able to essentially do everything too early, I've also seen people like that leave because they get bored, they run out of things to do, they reach top tier gear, and the game just isn't fun. So it's the exact opposite spectrum of the people who just can't figure it out due to the lack of tutorials and the dwindling helpful part of the community, which there still is some helpful people on, but it is getting more rare. Positive voices in the community and civil conversations in Etheria about the game itself and things like that are pretty much all but gone. It's pretty much turned into a big salt fest. So that basically takes people out to, but there's many issues ingrained in BDO and the dev team. Anyone that's played knows the optimization has been horrible, and they have not really been releasing content in a sensical order. But the game is very flawed. Granted, I still do like BDO okay. The life skilling is still my favorite in any MMO I played. I will give it that, but it does not hold your hand to explain it to you like other games I've played in the past that give a thorough explanation in tutorials, such as Final Fantasy XIV, Terra, things like that. So there are definitely more user-friendly MMOs out there. To be honest, I would suggest BDO as probably a side game, but for someone who works and things like that, the community is just typically too toxic unless you want to deal with that sort of thing. But that's pretty much it that I haven't covered in former streams about it. Also, that being said, a lot of the BDO streamers have actually left that started day one. They used to have Murder Burger. Saramonin used to be a regular BDO content creator. A lot of people were that are no longer streaming BDO, and there's many reasons for this. In this game, the human element actually does make it very hard to keep an actual stream schedule and things like that. Especially if someone knows you're streaming, they really don't care if you want to make a video that's informative or not, because they're salty. They'll actually black robe and just attack. And a lot of people do abuse that feature of the game, and again, PA does absolutely nothing unless you do it against one of their community managers or game masters. So that's unfortunately going to dissuade a lot of people away. Going back to the subject of streamers, a lot of them have moved on to other games with communities that are just typically not as toxic, and the human element doesn't interfere with their streams as much. Or they typically stream, of course, Battle Royale games. Those are very popular. But I myself will likely not be streaming BDO a lot more. I will still definitely be playing, because it's one of the few games that I can actually gain on AFK, and with my work schedule and everything in real life, that just, it actually is nice to be able to make progress in a game and just see a little bit of silver and things like that built up on my stuff while after work and things such as that. But I will be streaming other games. I'm not sure which one I'm going to stream first yet. I've actually been debating that. But as far as BDO goes, when I do stream, obviously I like to call out trash guilds. I have taken down guilds that have redeemed themselves, namely Spurt, Trueblood, and Gravity. Gravity actually became a very respectable guild, and Yellowface did a really good job of reforming it. I actually had a lot of fair fights with them in BA a couple months back, and they've totally changed their image from safe zone snipers and a toxic element into a very respectable PvX guild on my last encounter with them. Spur Trueblood, I actually have not seen them in game. That's another day one guild that I just don't see around anymore. So yeah, it's one of those things. People are definitely leaving BDO, and all of them, I would have to say, have their reasons. I have clung on to the game for a while, basically based on the money and time I've put into it, things like that. And as I stated, I'll still play it fairly regular. The AFK progression really is a nice feature, but I just don't see streams in my future for BDO. I did want to do a bunch of informative ones and things like that, but like I said, the human element's just way too much, and to be honest, I think other games deserve the coverage more. Games that do have helpful and supporting dev teams, games, especially indie games, that don't necessarily get all that. I personally haven't heard of Pearl Abyss before this. I'm not sure if they're a big company in Korea before BDO came to us or anything like that. But I do know that they've made a lot of money off stimulus checks, and there's actually reports going off that credit cards that have been scammed and sold on the deep web are actually being used by the tons for people to attempt to pay to win. So there's actually a lot of bad publicity going on with PA right now. Really just one of them things, but I just wanted to cover it with my audience. I know I don't have a big one yet. Hopefully it does get bigger. I'm kind of in between debating what game I'm going to stream first. It'll very likely be an indie game, and I'll very likely be covering either survival games, older MMOs. If any new ones come out, I'll very well possibly be covering those. But to be honest, I'd rather see independent developers with high talent get showcased on my streams. But once I do get it figured out, I will try to have a stream either tonight or possibly in the very near future to put a spotlight on some kind of game. Again, I'm hoping it's an indie production, but it may be a bigger one. With all that being said, as a prospective buyer for BDO on console, I will say the game is great, but the devs and community leave a lot to be desired in terms of support and just overall being decent human beings. But aside from all that, at its core, great game, but probably best played with chat turned off and just thinking everybody is NPCs. Really about the best way to approach BDO. But with that being said, I am going to sign off, continue this AFK fishing and trading while I get my morning routine together. Soon the fishing will be to AFK, but I did want to get this stream out largely just to talk about why I've more or less took a side game approach to this one, at least for the time being, and essentially why my next stream will very well likely not be BDO. But with all that out of the way, goodbye everyone, and I'll see you either later tonight or tomorrow after I decide what kind of game I want to cover and kind of put out there in my streams. Have a good day, everyone.